strategies that I always talk to you guys about, and you know, ways in which you can kind of navigate some of these questions. If you're new to teaching, I always tell people to sort of abandon what you used to do when you were in school, because a lot of times now those strategies are kind of not good practices and we've moved on to best practices. So something to think about. I'll show you some examples when we get there. We are going to be working from the free study guide that you got when you signed up for this webinar. If you're watching me on Facebook or YouTube or wherever else, you can get the free study guide by clicking the link in the description and signing up, and it'll be sent to your email. You'll also jump on a landing page and all of that, and you'll get that. Okay. So just checking real quick. Can you guys hear me? Can you hear me okay? I probably should put on my headphones. Okay. Yes, yes. Is there an echo? There is an echo or no? Sorry to stop. I just want to make sure. I just put in my AirPods and I'm not sure. Yes. Okay. No echo. Good. No echo. We sound okay here. Okay. I'm going to keep my, no echo. Thank you. I'm going to keep these AirPods in then and see how it goes. I'm so mad about my audio, you guys. All right. We're going to get over it. We're over it. We're over it. Okay. Here we go. So, we are going to be working from the free study guide. If you want it, go ahead and grab it through that link in the description. I'm just going to show you the free study guide really quickly so you know what we're working with here. And also, I have a regular study guide we're going to talk about in just a second, but let me go ahead and show you this. This is the free study guide we sent you if you signed up for the actual email. And you're going to get everything sent back to your email once we're done here. So you're going to get the replay and you're going to get the free study guide. So if you did not have a chance to download this right now, it's fine. I'm going to present everything, but this comes from our Praxis PLT. Now I have a PLT for the 5, 6, 2, 1, 2, 2, 2, 3, 2, 4, 2, 5. And so this is going to help you with all of those tests. Okay. Now this study guide here is going to help you with all three, but we do have specific study guides for each one. This is a shorter version of the actual big study guide here, which of course is almost 300 pages. And so you can see our regular study guide here is sectioned out by content category. I make sure that I do everything that's in the test specifications and we go through that. And I'm going to talk to you a little bit about all of this, but a lot of people have a hard time with the constructed response. So we're going to do 2 constructed response questions today. Somebody's asking, what about the 5, 6, 2, 5? The 5, 6, 2, 5 is all of them in one. So today is going to help you. You just do not have a constructed response, Sophia. And the constructed response, I recommend staying for because it's going to help you with the critical thinking you need for your multiple choice. So if you're taking the 5, 6, 2, 5, you do not have a constructed response, but stay. Please stay because it's going to help you. And I'm going to be going over a few things there. But we're going to do 2 today because I find people have the hardest time with this particular thing. So I want to make sure that you guys have that. All right. So, okay. All right. So it looks like we're good. I'm just checking all my stuff. I apologize for any of the glitches in the beginning. Again, new software. I practiced with it this week, but apparently, it didn't transfer over. Okay, so the other thing that I'm going to do is after this is over, I'm going to send you the constructed response. This didn't come with the free study guide. So I'm going to go through all of this at the end, and then you're going to get this sent to your email. So make sure you check your email after we're done today, and then you'll get everything that we talk about. Okay, so that's very, very helpful. And again, we're working from the free Praxis PLT. It helps you with all of these. This is an older version. It's the same, but it doesn't have 5, 6, 2, 5 on there. If you're here for the 5, 6, 2, 5, you're fine. This is all the same. If you look at the test specs, They are identical. The only difference is in the questions, there are some specifics on, elementary ed versus secondary and all of that. We'll talk about that. If you're looking for the 5625, you can buy our 5622 book and email us, and we'll send you the 5624 digitally. They're the same. It's just a couple of differences in some of the questions. That's all it is that are reflective. Okay. So let's go ahead and start. Now, you know that you can go to our website at any time. I'm going to go there in a minute and show you where to get the actual study guides, but we have online courses, we have the study guides, we have everything you need for the PLT, and you're going to get an offer code. My colleague is in the chat. Her name is Yana. She will answer questions if I can't, because I'm working in this thing. And she will also put the offer code in the chat for you. It's 20% off. You can use it on anything. Okay. And I'll get back to that in just a second once we're done. So let's get started. I'm so sorry for the delay on this. Let's go to here we go. All right. So I'm going to use blue ink today because I'm always trying to think about my people who have, issues with seeing. Some people are red, green, colorblind. So I always try to use blue now. I think purple is also problematic. And then for closed captionings, we have closed captions on our videos to help our hearing impaired people. That's why I switched to this new software, because my old software did not have closed captions during the live, and I didn't even realize it till somebody brought it up. So I apologize that we were late to the game on that. That's why we're using this new stuff here, and there should be closed captions everywhere. Okay, so let's start with, this is number 1 in the study guide, and like I said, you do not have to download this yet. You can use your study guide later. I'm projecting it here. We're going to talk about it. This corresponds with number 1 in the free study guide. Let's have a look at it. Now, I always like to work backward. This is a way of attacking this particular test. It looks like my captions. I'm going to move this up a little, because if you have captions on, they're covering the bottom thing there. So I'm just going to move that up a little bit. Okay, so let's read the answer choices first. Let's zero in on any good words and eliminate any bad words. And I'm going to show you how to think like a test maker, so you can be better at this. And remember, teach your kids how to do this too. Being a good test taker is part of being a good student these days, right? Because it's all about the exams. Okay, so here we go. Number 1, fill out a worksheet by labeling parts of a cell. Nope. Worksheet is a bad word on this exam. We don't want to be using worksheets. Do we use worksheets in real life? Yes, we do. And this is going to go along with, are we doing identification? Are we doing more nuanced material? Are we evaluating and analyzing? And on this test, we are going to be thinking from Bloom's taxonomy. Okay, so all right, so 1 is out. B, build a model of a cell and label it. Okay, so label. Notice we have here label and label. Okay, another way to think like a test maker. Okay, this test is going to assess your overarching kind of teaching skills, right? And so it's very important that you understand what's going on here. They are testing your Bloom's taxonomy, like I said before, and labeling is down here at the bottom of the Bloom's taxonomy. And we do not want to be down there for too long. Now, are we at the label and the identification process when we're talking about skills with students for part of the time? Yes, we are, because we have to introduce students to concepts. But on this exam, we always want to be pushing towards critical thinking. That's a big part of this test. Do you know how to push students towards analytical thinking? So right now we have fill out a worksheet, label, and we have build a model and label it. Now, you might say, oh, build a model. That's cool. I remember building models when I was a kid. Yeah, but you're just labeling it. You're spending 2 weeks on a skill that's low level. That's the trap here, okay? C, write a comic strip about a cell and all the adventures it encounters. Now, somebody did mention C here, and yes, C is correct, because we've got sort of higher level things going on here. And then D, draw a picture of a cell and label its parts. Now, this is what I call 3 versus 1 strategy. Label, label, label. Don't get caught up on the activity. You're thinking, okay, worksheet, build a model, draw a picture. Those are all great activities, right? However, the skill that we're working on here is label, label, label. 3 of the same skills. And you can only have 1 correct answer choice on this one. Now, if it said choose all that apply, that would be different. But it is label, 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 and you can only choose 1 correct answer choice here. So these 3 are too similar. They're out. C is the best answer. And I believe somebody said C, very good. And that is the answer. Now let's go ahead and read the question. Oops. Sorry about, I am really having some technical difficulties here with this new stuff. I am so sorry, guys. Give me 1 second. Okay. Talks amongst yourselves. There we go. Let me just pull this over here. All right. Not sure why that did that. Okay. So let's go back to my screen here. Okay. So, we have number 2. we were looking at the question. Students in a 5th grade class are learning about the parts and functions of cells. Which of the following activities would be, here's another thing, most effective in supporting creative and critical thinking? Okay. So they're giving you a couple of hints here. And I really want you to be focused on the strategy with this exam. There are so many scenario questions on this test, okay? So we have learning about parts of a cell. That's sort of a distraction. We have what is the most effective for creative and critical thinking? Well, guess what? Creative and critical thinking is up here at the top of Bloom's taxonomy. I will link a video in our email that'll go out to you guys after this is over that talks about Bloom's taxonomy, because if you are new to this particular aspect of teaching, you're like, who's Bloom's? What is this? What are you talking about? It's all about levels of increasing complexity. And when we're down here at the bottom, we're at the lower level. And when we're at the creative and critical thinking, we're at the top. And that's where we want students to be. We want to be pushing, pushing, pushing. And so when we are talking about these types of questions, look for these words. And if you see critical thinking or creative thinking in an answer choice, that's good. Those are what we call good words, okay? In this case, label, 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 wrong, and C's got all the good stuff in it. Let's have a look at number 2. Answer choices first. A, consult with his peer teacher about the lesson. All right. You do consult with your peer teacher. Many of you have peer teachers, especially if you are brand new. I don't love it, but I don't hate it. I'm going to leave it. B, reference the state adopted standards for grade 9 biology. This right here. State adopted standards. Such an important part of this test. Think about it. This test is what all teachers take. Well, many teachers in many states. I'm not going to say all teachers. Most teachers take a test like this. If they don't take the Praxis PLT, they take one that's similar to it, like the PPR in Texas or other exams that are similar. And they want to know that you are going to follow the state adopted standards. That is so important to your state that's about to hire you as a teacher. Okay. So we want to make sure that we are teaching the standards. So if you see state standards in an answer choice, it's most likely the correct answer. So I'm going to grab that. Let's go with C, determine what assessments he will need to administer. I love assessments. It's important to collect data, but not as good as starting with the state adopted standards. Let's go with D, go online and see what other teachers are doing. Do we do that? Sure. Are we on Pinterest? Are we on Instagram and TikTok and looking at all these teachers? Yes. We have amazing tools now, but state adopted standards surpasses all of that stuff. Let's have a look at the question. Mr. Rodriguez is a new 9th grade biology teacher. Notice what they're doing there. New. He is starting to plan a lesson on ecosystems. What should be his first step? Okay. He's new. And here's the key. First step. Now, you might be new too and go, well, peer teacher, they're trying to trick you here. Oh, I would go to my peer teacher. I'm brand new. Now, if you're a seasoned teacher in my chat, and I know some of you are, you know B all day. But if you're brand new to teaching and you're like, all of this looks good, I would consult with my peer teacher. I would do the state adopted standards. I would try to figure out what assessments I need. And I would go online and figure out like what other teachers are doing. But it says here first, and we have to make sure we're thinking of those good words. Think like a test maker, not a test taker. And that's why B is so important here. So A, C, and D are all distractors. They all are sort of good, but B is the best. And I get a lot of emails from people. They'll say, well, all 4 of the answer choices looked good. There's always one that stands out because of what's going on in the STEM or some sort of good word that I like, that I say is always in the correct answer choices here. Okay. All right, let's go with number 4. All right, can't do much with the answer choices here. I have standards, objectives, rules, and rubrics. Could be any of those things. Let's keep working backwards. These are examples of, and let's look at the bullets. Students will identify parts of a sentence, subject and predicate. Students will understand the difference between fragments and complete sentences. All right, so again, we are all teachers for all different content areas. Some of you are going to be elementary ed teachers, some of you are middle school teachers, some of you are high school teachers, right? But we all use standards, objectives, rules, and rubrics, right? So what are these 2 things here? And we've got Shamika, Sophia, you guys are answering correctly. Thank you so much. It is B. These are objectives. Now let's talk about the difference between standards and objectives really quickly. Standards are those big overarching goals that students need to master by the end of a quarter, a semester, or a year, okay? They are the big goals. Objectives are the smaller goals within a lesson. These are the skills or behaviors a student is going to exude at the end of a lesson. So here's a little trick for those of you who may get observed by your principal, especially if you're new. Here's a way to get high marks, because I used to be an assistant principal, okay? I would have my objectives on the board, and people are like, why do I have to have my learning target on the board? It's so stupid. Why do I have to write my objectives on the board? I understand that. Just writing the objective on the board is kind of lame. Like, what are we doing here? But when we reference those objectives and we say, hey guys, everyone, ladies and gentlemen, friends, whoever's in your classroom with you, students, let's go ahead and have a look at these objectives. What are we responsible for learning today? And you say, all right, what's the first objective? Students will identify parts of a sentence, subject and predicate. All right, by the end of this lesson, you're going to be able to know what the subject is and what the predicate is. What's the second objective? You'll be able to understand the difference between fragments or parts of a sentence and complete sentences. Okay, so let's make sure we all know what we're responsible for learning. And then as we go through the lesson, I can say, hey guys, did we meet our first objective? Can you identify a subject and a predicate? Give me a thumbs up. And the kids give you a thumbs up and you're like, all right, check. We met that objective. If you do that in your classroom, first of all, you're going to have better learning outcomes, because when students understand what they're responsible for, they're more apt to meet those expectations. And then if you do that when a principal walks in, forget it. You are going to be so money. You're going to be on the high end of that rubric. Okay. So make sure that you are writing your objectives on the board, but you're also referencing them. All right. It's important. Now we know the difference between standards and objectives. Standards are given by the state, and you take those and you turn them into objectives. I highly recommend using ChatGPT to write objectives for you. Take the standard, throw it into ChatGPT and say, write me 3 learning objectives for a lesson today on blah, blah, blah using this standard, and it will spit it out for you. I love ChatGPT. All right. Rules. Typically, rules on this test is a bad word. Let me move this up again a little bit, because if you've got closed captions, you can't see the bottom. You can't see D. So rules it's sort of a bad word. It sounds punitive, and I hate to be like split hairs here, but it's expectations. Okay. We talk about expectations. We don't talk about rules. And you may say, oh, give me a break. Okay. Give me a break. I get it. People are like, why is education so, It's because people respond better to expectations than they do punitive measures. Okay. The research is there to support it. Okay. So And then rubrics, this is a good word. Rubric is a good word. That is a criteria you use to grade students' writing. And that is used before, during, and after writing to tell the students exactly what your expectations are. It gives a clear indication of what they need to do, and then they can use that as they are writing. But that is not what's going on. All right, so let's have a look here. Someone's asking about questions. Let's see. I can turn on the questions, although it's sort of easier if you just put it in the chat because I can't be in two places at once. So if you want to ask questions, go ahead and put it in the chat. I do have a questions tab here, and I just turned it on, but I can't go between both. So if you have questions about this, go ahead and throw it in the chat. Okay. All right. So that's number 3. Let's move on to number 4. All right. We have some things that stand out here. We have reciprocal teaching, cooperative learning, modeling, and writing workshop. All of those are fantastic things. I'm going to go through each one after I read the sentence or read the question, but all of those are awesome. So let's have a look here. I like to go with the STEM. I continue to work backwards. I work backwards the whole way up. I think it's a little bit of my ADHD and also understanding testing. So it says the teacher is using what technique? We don't know yet. All right, let's have a look here. A teacher has projected an essay in the front of the class. All right, so we've got it projected like I'm doing here with you. The students watch as she goes through the essay, deleting fragments and revising sentences. What is she doing? Well, this is modeling. She has a projected essay up at the top of the screen, all right? And then she's kind of showing students. Yes, modeling. Good job, guys. And the students are watching. They're sitting there looking up at the teacher. Modeling is a good word on this exam and a good word in life. Whenever you want students to do something, do not tell them, show them. I just recorded a video for classroom management. You can't just say, here's what I expect, everybody. This is how I want you to walk in the room. Okay, we got it? We all know how to walk in the room? Okay, and guess what? Every day after that, they walk in the room like a bunch of hyenas. And you say, guys, I told you how I want you to walk in the room. Why can't you follow instructions? I recommend demonstrating how to walk into the room. When you demonstrate and you model, it is a powerful, powerful tool. Modeling is always a good answer choice. Also, for your constructed response, if you're stuck and you don't know what strategy to use, you can always use modeling in your constructed response because it works every time. All right, I'll talk about that in a minute when we get to the constructed response. All right, let's talk about reciprocal teaching. Reciprocal teaching is when the students take over the role of teacher and the teacher sort of walks around the room as a facilitator. They are in charge, but this is a higher level. They need to really understand what is happening. It looks like for number 4, it looks like we're at the beginning of a lesson or at the beginning of a skill, because if I'm modeling it as a teacher, it's, I do, or I'm sorry, it's I do. I do as the teacher. We do as the students. You do as an individual. I'm at the center of the room. I am showing you. Okay. That's at the beginning. Reciprocal teaching is you do, the kids do it. And they might do it in groups. You might have somebody stand up in the front of the room and give a lesson, or they might be working with each other in groups. Okay. Cooperative learning is just group work. That's a fancy word now for group work, but with a twist. In cooperative learning, it is important that everybody has a job. Everybody is responsible for the piece of the learning. So you might have a reader, a note taker, an administrator, a facilitator, something like that. Everybody has a job. And writing workshops, super powerful in writing, where you sort of have students sit down together and trade their papers and provide feedback. Now, writing workshop, just to let you know, this takes a lot of practice, a lot of modeling. You can't just be like, okay, guys, get into groups. We're going to do writing workshop today. You're going to fail. We have to do it bit by bit. If you really want to use writing workshop or any strategy in your classroom, you have to say, all right, let's talk about writing workshop. This is a strategy I want to use with you all. Let's talk about the steps in the writing workshop. Go through it, model it. You get into a writing workshop yourself. You project how you are going to give feedback. Even adults need help with these types of things. Explicit, systematic instruction in this, okay? We have to make sure that we are modeling. People abandon strategies all the time. They're like, oh, that didn't work, because we didn't model it properly. We didn't, really work on it. It's going to fail. You start with writing workshops in your classroom, it's going to fail miserably the first time. That's okay. Try it again. These are awesome ways to help students understand. All right, and the last one we're going to do in multiple choice. Okay, we have nice long answer choices here. I love using the backward approach when you have these long answer choices, because 9 times out of 10, I can narrow it down to 50-50 for sure, because there's always bad words somewhere that I can take out and good words that I can hone in on. So we have A, plan, teach, and practice daily routines and procedures for transition and classroom activities. I mean, you can't get any better than that. That is directly from the test specifications. When I talk about test specifications, it is and you know what? I'll show you where to get them. Hang on. I'm not going to do it now. I'm just going to Praxis PLT study companion. I'll show you in a minute when I share screen for something else. Okay. But I don't want to break this. In the test specifications, which are the specifics of the exam, these words are there. That's why in my answer choices and on my good words list in the book, the actual study guide, I have these words because they show up over and over and over again in the test specifications. Routines and procedures. Remember, every person taking this exam teaches different subject areas. You might be a math teacher. Let me know in the chat if you're a math teacher. You might be a social studies teacher. You might be an elementary teacher. Put in the chat what grade level or what content area you teach, right? But we're all taking this exam, right? So everybody has to have good classroom management and practice daily routines and procedures. That's what it's all about. All right. So we got math teacher. Math, if you're teaching math, 7th grade, oh God, good on you. Middle school math. I mean, that's tough. Early childhood, biology. Oh, I was a biology teacher, 8th grade math. Awesome. Special education, for sure. All of these, even in professional development. When I was an assistant principal, I had to have planned procedures and routines for professional development with adults. And guess what? They liked it, because I didn't do it the same way I did with the kids. Obviously, these are adults and you can't be like condescending to adults. But when I worked with groups of teachers who they are the toughest, we had to have practice routines and procedures to stay on track and to make sure we got the most out of our professional development. And they loved it, because guess what? They got out early. We didn't spend all this time on other stuff nobody wanted to talk about. All right. And they liked it. Kids like it too. All right. ESOL, nice. ESL, math and science teacher, middle and high, nice. Spanish and French, awesome. I am working on my Spanish. I've known Spanish for a long time, but I haven't been fluent. And my little act of resistance these days is to get fluent in Spanish so I can speak. I've been dying to do it for so long. So that's what I'm trying to do. And I'm really working on it. There's a lot of awesome resources. Algebra 1 and geometry, awesome. Kindergarten, oh, bless you. Kindergarten is tough. 2nd grade. Awesome. I was high school, so the little guys sort of scare me. I would rather be in a room full of angry teenagers than hyped up elementary school kids. But either way, everybody is needed. So I'm so glad you guys are teachers. Thank you so much. All right. So A looks great. Let's look at B. Send home reminders to parents about classroom expectations and work on at home. This is typically not the answer on the exam. Do we do this in real life? Here is an example of real life versus the test. Okay. Do we send home classroom expectations? Sure. During your open house, we say, hey guys, here's my expectations. You want to do all of this, when you come into my classroom, and you want the parents to know it too, for sure. Sometimes we have contracts and all that, but on this exam, everything falls on you as the teacher. You are in charge of classroom management, not the principal, not your peer teacher, not the reading coach. It's you. So anything that goes outside the classroom to fix the problem is not the correct answer. So B is out. C, assign homework. Bad word on this exam. Homework is good. I'm not saying homework is bad. People will be like in the comments, like once this goes like, she doesn't believe in homework. Yes, I do. Homework is amazing for practice. If it is purposeful, it's very important, especially for math and things like that, to get that muscle memory down. But on this exam, it's typically tied to students who are struggling or some sort of practice that homework is not appropriate for. So if you see homework in an answer choice, typically not the right answer, okay? D, have students sign behavior contracts to reduce the number of disruptions. Now, you might see this too and go, I love behavior contracts. They work. They certainly do. You know what else works? Extrinsic rewards, candy, cookies, they all work, right? But on this test, they want you to really understand that you have to be intrinsic, where students want to do these things. I know, but they'll get there. And routines and procedures out. This is better than D. I think D is probably the distractor here. That's the one they want you to pick. A is the best one here. And of course, according to research, what's the most effective way here? Okay. All right. Now, before we get into our constructed response, I want to stop sharing really quickly and go into here, see if anybody has any questions. All right. I also want to show you where to get the study companion. Now, I am not going to project the study companion. That is Pearson's, or not Pearson. This is ETS. ETS makes this test. That is ETS intellectual property. So I'm not going to project it because I don't want to get into a copyright war with a huge testing company. But I do want to show you how to get the study companion because it's really, really important. So what you're going to do is you are going to click or search Praxis PLT study companion or Praxis 5024 study companion, whatever it is, Pearson Foundations of Reading test specification. You can do study companion for Praxis. And you can do test specification if you're doing another test. It is the test specification, okay? Now, when you do this, you're going to get sponsored links. Don't click on these. Go straight to the ETS website, and typically it will say like a PDF right here. And when you click that, it'll take you to this study companion here. Now, I'm not going to go through it because, again, this is their intellectual property. But as you scroll down, all of this information here is on the exam. So I recommend you review it. And I use this to write my books. Okay. So that is their study companion. And you can do that by Googling Praxis PLT 5621, 5622, and all of that study companion. Okay. Now, people are asking, did we do questions 6, 7, 9, and 10? We have not done those. I was going to jump right into the study companion or into the constructed response. But if you have a specific question you'd like me to go over in the free study guide, I will do that. Let's go over here. I don't have them on my thing. So I'll do them really quickly. I'll do them really quickly for you. All right, hang on. So what did we do? 1 through 4. Okay, let's go with 5. Let's go quickly because I want to get to the constructed response. All right, so we have provide students a long list of terms for the next lesson. Probably not. Have students look up each word and write definitions. We used to do this. We used to do this when I was growing up, and you probably still do it, but it's not the best. Have students switch lists with someone in the group for a next lesson. Have students generate their own list of keywords for the next lesson. Okay, I kind of like this one, generating their own list, perhaps. Which of the following would be most effective in helping students with vocabulary for the following lesson? All right, so looking up words and trying to write their definitions is definitely not. Have students switch lists. B and C don't do much, okay? Provide students a longer list. Let's keep reading this. A teacher is using a vocabulary scaffolding technique during 5th grade social studies lesson. All right, so what's scaffolding? That's where you provide support. Scaffold, like the side of a building, right? You try to climb the building. The building stays tall. We don't reduce the size of the building. We just provide scaffolding, right? So she has written a list of key terms that they should be looking for when reading their cooperative groups. Which of the following most effective in helping the students with the vocabulary for the following lesson? So she started off with a list of words that she provided. What can she do for the following lesson? Well, have students generate their own list. Generating your own list is very, very good. Okay. So that's going to help. All of these are low level. Providing students with a longer list, what's that going to do? Have them look up definitions, typically not the right answer. And switch lists with someone, what's that doing? Just kind of think this out, right? D is the best one. Let's go with 6. Let's go with the answer is plan and facilitate class activities based on a rubric. Love a rubric. Rubric is a good answer choice, or a good word and an answer choice. Students ask questions to each other regarding the topic. I like asking questions too. A and B are okay. See, partner up and read and comprehend text. You might be focused on this, partner up, but read and comprehend text. How? How are you going to measure that? That seems a little vague. Students engage in a month-long research report. Month-long sounds long and vague. I don't know. I really like A because we're setting the expectations with a rubric. Let's have a look here. I'm going to keep working on it. Based on assessment data, the teacher feels students are ready to engage in a reciprocal teaching activity to increase critical thinking. Which of the following? All right, and they're working on genetics. Okay, what do you guys think it is? A, yes, students plan and facilitate class. That goes with the reciprocal teaching. Okay, but let's say you don't know what reciprocal teaching is. You do now because you attended my webinar. But let's say you don't know what it is. Well, you have this keyword rubric here. Planning using a rubric means you're setting expectations. You're being very clear about what we are going to do. All of the others are okay, but this partnering up, that's not reciprocal teaching. That's just partner reading. Engaging in a month-long, none of that works, right? This could be your distractor B, like this is almost the right answer, where students are sort of kind of facilitating, but A is the best because you have the students are doing the work. All right, let's have a look at 7. Problem-based, program-based, inquiry-based, performance-based. These are all different ways to facilitate instruction or even assessment. Let's look at the question here. All right, she allows the students to pick from 3 assessments, conduct a presentation, write a speech, or design a brochure. All right, that looks like performance-based. They are performing an assessment. Conduct a presentation. That's like literally a performance, but so is writing a speech or designing a brochure. This is also differentiated. This could also be considered UDL, universal design for learning, meaning that you're allowing students to show their mastery different ways. And people say, oh, how am I supposed to do this? I've already got 6 preps and everything else, right? I barely have a planning period. It's true. It's very hard to do. But when you give students choice, some students like to speak in front of the class. Other students do not. Some students love to design things. Other students do not. Sometimes if we can give them a little bit of choice, they're more inclined to do the work. I'm just saying. And it's relatively easy to do if it takes the practice, right? But here, this is performance-based. Now, problem-based is when a lot of this is done in math, like you give them a really complicated math problem and they kind of get into groups and kind of work it out, show their work, stuff like that. Could also be science where you present them with some sort of problem there. Program-based, that's sort of a nonsense. I mean, everything we do is pretty much program-based. Inquiry-based is all about hands-on. Everything is like we're asking questions, and inquiry-based can be for science for sure. It works awesome in science, but it can be for anything. If you're kind of investigating things and looking at different things, even in literature or in math, it's all inquiry-based, okay? Mike T, have you heard anything about forthcoming modifications to teaching standards? Well, I've heard a few things. I'm just in a wait and see pattern right now. So, really, the states are in charge of your standards. Education is left to the states. So I doubt the states are going to change a lot of things. They did change some in Florida where I am. But just keep looking to the state. There are some Common Core standards that a lot of states base their standards on. But remember, education is left to the states. So go to your state education website to find out if there are any changes to the standards. Okay. I'm going to keep it at that. Anyway, according to research, okay, we did number 8. Let's go to number 9. Okay, here's that Bloom's taxonomy. That's jumping out to me. And I can see here, students will evaluate, students will identify, students will sort words, students will relate one text to another. So right now I have evaluate and relate are very similar. This is high level here. So if I can only have one answer choice, A and D should probably be out. And then I have identify and sort. Sort is a little bit above identify because you're actually categorizing things. And this is actually asking what is the lowest cognitive level? Identify. Now, does that mean it's bad? No, it doesn't mean that it's bad. Identifying is important when we start a lesson. Students will identify parts of a cell. You have to identify before you can relate to them, right? Sorting is a little bit above identify because you have to identify them and then you have to put them in a category. So you're actually using two processes of the brain. And then evaluate and relate one text to another. That's critical thinking. That's way up at the top. And they're looking for the lowest cognitive level. All right, let's look at number 10. This is a short question, so I'll read this first. Which of the following is focused on divergent thinking? All right. Students come up with more than one way to solve a problem. Students work in groups. Students fill out worksheets. Always wrong on this test. Well, I'm not going to say always, but students work in a writing workshop. Okay. Divergent thinking means that we are kind of splitting off and we are thinking about things in a different way. So A is the best answer here. Okay. Just checking, making sure because I really liked B and D. But look, B and D, group, work in groups, work in writing workshop, B and D. So here's another way that you can think like a test maker, because I was almost like, oh, which one is it? I haven't seen this question in a while. And I'm live and I don't want to make a mistake on live. But you can see that like B is group work and so is D. So even if you didn't know what divergent thinking is, B and D are too close and I can only have one answer choice here. So I'm going to cross that off. C is worksheets. That's out, which leaves me with A. So again, we're working on that. Someone said I skipped 8. No, I didn't. I did that in my last, that was the routines and procedures. I had put that in my, presentation before. All right. Remember, practice daily routines and procedures. Good words, good words, good words, good words. Okay. All right. Now let's talk about the constructed response. Now, again, if you are watching this in the live, the actual presentation, if you want this, you can sign up for the webinar and we'll email it to you. And I will be able to, we'll send this to you. But I want you to understand something about this constructed response. Let me zoom out just so you can see how big some of them are sometimes. And I went a little hard on this one because I want to hit you guys with more. Like I want you to be prepared. Okay. So you're going to have all this stuff here. And you know, a lot of people, they're going to start up here and they're going to read all the way down and they're going to keep reading all the way down. And then you're going to get to the question. You're going to be like, oh, what? Okay, let's go back and reread. Work backwards. Always, always, always work backwards. Okay. And you're going to start here. You're going to start. Let me just highlight. You're going to start here. All right. This is where I want you. I want to make sure that you're not getting bogged down with all of the details here, because guess what? 9 times out of 10, you can start to generate strategies in your mind that you're going to use so that when you're reading the actual strategy, then you're just looking for support for what you want to say. So let's just have a look at question 1 and let me zoom in and I'm going to. All right. So let's look at question 1. Now, these 2 bullets are what you have to do. That's your responsibility. Okay. So identify 2 modifications she can make to the lesson to achieve these objectives and explain how each modification can help. Okay, this is standard also. They're going to ask you to do something like, hey, what would be the strategy you use? Or how would you accommodate? Whatever. A strategy, accommodation, modification, intervention, it's all the same thing. You're going to do something to make it better for your kids. okay? Then the second thing you have to do is, why does that work? You have to say, this works because it helps students, blah, 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 okay? And I'm going to show you how to do that, all right? So in the objectives, Ms. Rhodes wants students to identify and discuss different features of the earth. Okay, identify 2 modifications. So 2 modifications that you could use could be modeling. You could put in your head, you know what? I don't know. I'm kind of stressed out. This is a big one. I'm having heart palpitations. I have testing anxiety. Modeling is going to be one. Okay. And then maybe another is going to be explicit instruction on it, right? Because modeling and explicit instruction is, those two go really well together. And you can write to those very easily. All right. Or you might have something else, or you might be like, I don't know yet. You might be a little more calm. You might be like, I'm not too freaked out. Let's read it. All right. So let's go ahead and read it. I'm not going to read it word for word. I'm just going to pick out certain things for you to do. Okay. So we have 2nd grade, and she's a beginning teacher. So Ms. Rhodes is new, 2nd grade teacher. She's planning for a science lesson about Earth's features. Okay. And we got that from the question. So this is science. So hands-on is going to be good. Demonstrating, modeling is going to be good. And explicit instruction is going to be good. She's working on effective cooperative learning. Oh God. So she's a brand new teacher, 2nd grade, cooperative learning. This is hard. This is hard to do. She asked her peer teacher to come in and observe. That's awesome. I love it when teachers are like, hey, can you come in and check this out and give me some feedback? Being able to take feedback is so important as a teacher and a person just in general. Ms. Rhodes wants to make cooperative groups an integral part of her learning process. So she wants to use this a lot. All right, so here are her objectives. Students will work in groups to use clay to make models of the earth. Students will discuss different features of the earth using their clay models. That sounds like fun. And students will identify the different features of earth. Okay, so they're going to use clay and like make earth and show what's going on. Okay, here's the observation. All right, so we've got the peer teacher saying she begins the lessons by telling students they will work in cooperative groups. Students get really excited. She tells them to go to their tables right away. Problem: we have not had enough explicit instruction before going to their tables. Okay, even with adults, this would be problematic. They would be like, what do you want me to do? What table? Where am I going? Right? So right away, we got an issue. It takes 5 minutes to get the students into the correct groups. That is a long time. You may be like, well, it's just 5 minutes. 5 minutes of chaos. And if your principal walks in and sees that, no. We want it to be 10 seconds. Boom. They know what to do. Get up, go to groups, right? And we need to have a procedure and a routine for that. So this is going to be a classroom management feel for me. The clay is already on the table. What do the students do? And this happens with adults. It's not just kids. If I had clay on the table during a professional development, every teacher, because they're bored, just like 2nd graders are bored, they're going to pick up the clay. They're going to play with it. And you're going to have to say, guys, please, no, put the clay down. Hey, stop, don't. We don't want to do that, okay? So Ms. Rose says, boys and girls, if you touch the clay now, you won't be able to do this activity. They don't care. They're already touching the clay. They're already having fun, right? Then she goes through the instructions, okay? And here's what happens. 4 students immediately begin to grab the clay and smush all the colors together. I'm sure 2nd grade teachers, let me know in the chat if you are definitely feeling this. 3 students are confused as to what to do and get frustrated. 5 students begin to mold the clay and follow directions. All right, we got 5 that are like doing what's supposed to be done. And Miss Rhodes walks around the room and assists students in their groups. Okay, that's good. The last bullet's pretty good. All right, here's the observation. After 20 minutes, she wraps up. Most students don't have a lot to say. 2 students are upset because their clay figures didn't turn out the way they wanted. It's a mess. Okay. She didn't meet the lesson objective. She's frustrated. The teacher is. She mentions that she may not be able to do cooperative learning with this class. All right. I see this a lot as well. People say, we just can't have nice things. And you might be right. But I think if we could implement some professional development and perhaps some modeling and some good, classroom management, we could have nice things. And we could use clay and we could get into groups. Okay. So what I think I'm going to do here is, let me go, where's my thing? There we go. I am going to do a couple of things. First of all, explicit instruction. She jumped too quickly towards going right into groups. Okay. Teresa, oh my God, yes, this would be my kindergartners. Yeah, this would be anybody. This isn't just kindergartners. This would be anybody. If there's clay on the table, I don't care how old you are, you're picking up the clay. Okay, so we need explicit instruction. Remember, we needed 2 strategies. You can always use explicit instruction. Okay, they need steps to shaping the clay. They need clear expectations for how to get into groups. Okay, the second one would be practice routines. So we need to practice how to get into groups before we can do any of this, right? So they need to know how to work in groups effectively. They must practice before jumping into the learning, okay? Notice that I just jotted down a couple of things here, okay? And I'm going to set this up because there are 2 bullets. I'm going to set it up as 2 paragraphs. Now, I like to use headings. I like to organize my paragraphs for this with headings, okay? Now, you can jump right into the activity. You do not have to have an intro and a conclusion and all that. I have looked over lots of sample responses for this test in the test specifications and stuff, and they go right into it. The ones that get high marks, they go right into it, okay? So let's have a look here. Ms. Rhodes can modify the lesson by providing more precise and detailed instruction. So right away, detailed instructions, explicit instructions. Now I want to get specific here. Instead of simply telling students to mold the clay into models of earth, she can break down the task into smaller steps. For example, that is a key word when we are writing for this. Okay, for example. She can demonstrate how to shape the clay into different features. So there's that modeling. She can demonstrate it first. Before they go into those groups, they're sitting in the front of the room and she has some clay in front of her, such as mountains, oceans, and continents. Notice I got very specific in the way in which I'm going to do it. When you use words like, for example, you're telling the grader you're about to get specific and work on your support for what you're trying to say. Okay. Let's go here. Providing visual aids or step-by-step guides can help students understand what is expected of them. Here's that rationale. So what I did was I gave you, in the first part, I gave you the strategy, and then I gave you why is it effective. I put both of the bullets in one paragraph because it goes really nicely together. Here's what I would do. And then, the concluding sentences work well by saying, hey, this is important because it helps students achieve the objective. Finally, explicit instruction will help students understand Ms. Rhodes' expectations, setting them up for success. Explicit instruction sets them up for success. All right. Now that's my strategy 1. Now I'm going to do the same for the second strategy. Remember, it said 2 strategies. So I'm going to have 2 paragraphs, and they are going to have the rationale at the bottom, okay? The second one is going to be practice routines and procedures for cooperative learning. All right, Ms. Rhodes can modify the lesson by establishing practice routines for cooperative learning before starting the activity. Instead of assuming students understood working effectively in groups, she can explicitly teach and model, good word. Remember, we're using the good words in our writing, cooperative behaviors and expectations. For example, I always like to use at least one for example in my writing when I do this. She can introduce routines such as taking turns, listening to other ideas, asking for help. By practicing these routines regularly, students will develop the skills and habits necessary. Notice here, I just added that rationale. And this can improve their ability to identify and discuss different features of the earth. All right, so let's go back here. Did I meet objective bullet 1? Did I identify 2 modifications? Yes, I did. Did I explain why they are helpful? Yes, I did. All right, so question 1, done. And I did it with just 2 paragraphs with a couple of headings. All right, let's go with question 2. Identify 2 areas of professional learning Ms. Rhodes can seek. to achieve her goal. And for each area of professional learning, identify how it would help. Again, the rationale. They do this every time, right? So it says in the introduction of this scenario, it mentions Ms. Rhodes wants to make cooperative learning. She wants to do cooperative learning a lot. Well, she needs help. Everybody does. Nobody comes right out the gate and just masters cooperative learning. Like, everybody needs help in this area. So here's what they're asking you. A big part of this exam is understanding professional development and seeking it out. We all want to be regular learners, right? So one is, what 2 areas of professional development can she look for? And the second one is, how will it help her? Again, I'm going to go to my thing here. Notice I have 2 paragraphs here. Now, you're going to have to go back and reference the prompt. It's totally fine. All right. You're going to grab some of your stuff from in there. Remember to use the good words I talk about and all of that. But let's have a look. Professional development, classroom management. I mean, clearly, right? Training on differentiated instruction. You could do that for anything. You could use these for anything. If it asked you what kind of professional development you need, these would go with pretty much any prompt, okay? So we have Ms. Rhodes can seek professional learning opportunities focused on classroom management strategies. Here's specifics, particularly those related to cooperative learning. By learning effective techniques for organizing and managing cooperative groups, she can create a more conducive learning environment where students engage in productive groups. Now, I did say, for example, here, and I would have liked to. I could have said, for example, she could attend professional development on how to effectively get students into groups quickly because it took 5 minutes. That would be even better here. This is fine, but I'm just saying to amp it up, all of that, okay? This knowledge will help her establish cooperative groups, regular success. So right here, again, I gave you the rationale. So here is the strategy. Here is the rationale, okay? Question, or the second one. Differentiated instruction. Ms. Rhodes can benefit from professional learning opportunities on differentiated instruction. By learning how to differentiate instruction based on students' individual needs and interests and learning styles, she can better support diverse learners during cooperative learning activities. I might even say, for example, the students who had trouble following instructions might need more support, okay? Might need more support. I would probably add that here. If I were going to make this better, I would add that. Now, this would probably, I would pass with this. I would get an adequate grade here. But you could bump it up by saying, for example, for the students who struggle following instructions, she could differentiate, you know, and get some training in that. All right. And then I've got my rationale down here. This will enable her to provide appropriate scaffolding and support students who may struggle with the activity, ultimately leading to more successful implementation. Now I'm using fancy words here. Just say, making it more successful, helping our kids be successful, whatever you want to do there. Okay. All right. So notice a couple things. First of all, it's very organized. Make it easy on the grader. Don't make it hard for the grader to find your information. You want to be like, here it is. Because when you guys are grading things, especially for any high school English teachers, I was also a high school English teacher, and you got kids writing essays, what do you want them to do? Just answer the question, please. Just answer the question, right? And that's not always easy. Go right into what you're trying to say. Don't go around the world to say what you're trying to say, okay? Do it first line. I'm telling the grader, this is what I think she should do. And then I provide a few examples, and then I give you the rationale. Nice and easy. Check, check. You've met all the requirements, okay? All right, let's do a secondary example because I know I have some secondary teachers in here. So let's talk about this. All right, another one. Big one here. We're going, oh my God, it's so large. Oh, what do I do? Okay, well, what are we going to do first? We're going to go to the task, okay? So here we go. Identify 2 modifications Mr. Sumner can make to his lesson to increase his effectiveness in category 2. Let's go to category 2. It says, teacher delivers instruction aligned to rigorous learning objectives. Okay, he must not be doing that. And then explain how each modification can help. Again, the rationale. So really, you just got to be focused on here and then why it works, okay? Let's just jump to question. Identify 2 changes this teacher can do to address the feedback. All right, so we're going to talk about the feedback and we're going to talk about category 2. Let's focus on question 1 first. Identify 2 modifications Mr. Sumner can make for category 2. Let's go here. Category 2, teacher delivers instruction aligned to rigorous learning objective. All right, what does rigorous mean? Rigorous means, I hate the word because it sounds laborious, but you're bumping the rigor. You're bumping the critical thinking. You're pushing students to answer why questions, how questions. You're not just doing recall. You're not just doing rote memory, okay? You're doing things that really make the students stretch. You're pushing them up that Bloom's taxonomy that we talked about, okay? All right, so, and if you reference Bloom's taxonomy, I mean, extra points for you. All right, let's have a look at what's going on here. So we want him to be better at delivering instruction aligned to rigorous learning objectives. Mr. Sumner is a 9th grade social science teacher, second year of teaching. He's working on his lesson plans for upcoming semester. He likes to get them done ahead of time. All right, so he's doing the whole semester so he can focus on classroom activities. He outlines lessons and activities based on the textbook and the sequential chapters. Okay, couple things going on here in this. First of all, he's working on his lesson plans for the upcoming semester. How are you going to differentiate? How are you going to like modify based on students and data and all that if your lesson plans are done for the whole semester? I'm all for a week or two or a month ahead, but a whole semester ahead, that sort of ties you into plans that, I don't know. Now, if he's able to be a little more flexible, okay, but this tells me Mr. Sumner's trying to check a box, okay? Let's have a look at the lesson plans. Week 1, read chapter 4, lesson 1, and complete the chapter questions. Okay, week 2, read chapter 4, lesson 2, complete the chapter questions. Week 3, read chapter 4, lesson 3, complete the chapter questions. Are we seeing a pattern here? This is not rigorous instruction. This is having students read and answer questions. And there's a place for this, but this is very repetitive. And then, oh, we got a test. All right, do we go over the test and have a look at what kids need? Nope, we go on to week 5, chapter 5, lesson 1, complete the chapter questions. All right, samesies every day. Might be problematic. Weekly activities, Monday, 40-minute movie. No, absolutely not. We're not doing 40 minutes of movies. Read the textbook and complete practice questions. Group work. Okay. Well, what about group work? Makeup day. I loved a makeup day when I was a teacher, but guess what? Principals do not like to see a makeup day. If you're doing a makeup day, and I do like makeup days, like I think it's important to give students a minute to like catch up. We all need a makeup day, but I would have some standards attached to it, some learning objectives attached to it. I would be walking around the room and helping students with their makeup day, you sitting at your desk and students just making up work. Look, I did it too. I'm just saying it's not a good look. 40-minute movie, not a good look. Not a good look. Okay. And again, like William said, there's no interaction with the teacher. My daughter's in high school right now, and I'm seeing a lot of this for her. There's a lot of this going on at the high school level, unfortunately, not in all high schools, but because they can kind of be left on their own. And you're right. There's not a lot of interaction with the teacher. There's not a lot of questioning. What does rigor mean? Rigor means asking complicated questions. You know what I'm saying? So I would up the questioning. 2 modifications would be questioning, standards and data to plan lessons. Right now, we're not even looking at data to plan lessons. We're just going right through. We had some data here on the test, but no, we didn't do anything with it. All right. So babysitting and Chromebooks. Yep. That sounds like it to me. So we need to do better than this. Now, look, Mr. Sumner, no shade to Mr. Sumner. This is how he might have been taught in social studies. I had a lot of social studies teachers like this. Okay. So we want to help Mr. Sumner do better. Okay. So 2 modifications I'm going to choose here is to use the standards, because it said here that he uses the textbook. This is a red flag. Now, a lot of textbooks are aligned to the standards, but that's a trap. If this is on a test question, we don't use the textbook. We use the standards, okay? Even though your textbook most likely goes through the standards, we use standards, state adopted standards, okay? That would be my first one. And then I would say continually refer to the objectives. We need to throw in some objectives in there, all right? So let me go to my thing here. So I've got use standards. Sorry, I'm moving this around. Use the standards to plan lessons and make decisions. I'd probably pull back from the making my lessons all the way through the whole semester. Okay, we need to really look at the standards and then meet the needs of each student, which is not currently happening, and then keep students on track with state learning goals. Okay, and then 2, continually refer to the objectives and the standards. Hey, did we meet this? That's kind of like what I talked about before. And it's also a way to collect more data. If students don't understand the objective, that's formative data. That's observational data that we can use. Okay. All right, now I decided to do this a different way. It is important to see you can do it different ways. I had it set out by 2 paragraphs before, but you could do it 1 paragraph like this. Okay, let me show you. The first approach Mr. Sumner can take to improve in category 2 is to plan lessons using learning objectives aligned to the standards. Okay, now I said right away, first approach, because it said I needed 2. So I'm telling my grader, here's number 1, check. All right. And I've got the good words, learning objectives aligned with the standards. That's all good stuff. For example, rather than planning his lessons for the entire semester, Mr. Sumner can plan incrementally, collect data to drive instructional decisions, and design rigorous lesson objectives that correspond with academic standards. Now I'm going to tell, so I did all the things. I gave you the strategy. Then I said, for example, got specific on the strategy. Now I'm going to tell you why it's important. This will ensure he meets the needs of all students while pushing students towards skill mastery. Okay. Now, I'm going to do the same. It's like formulaic, plug and play. The second thing Mr. Sumner can do is communicate those objectives throughout the lesson. So I had my first one. Now I'm on my second one. For example, notice it's following that method. As students engage in the lesson, Mr. Sumner can ask, have we met this objective? Referring back to the objective helps students, here we go with the rationale. Referring back to the objectives helps students connect activities to the classroom, in the classroom to student learning targets. This is also a way to collect data to make further instructional decisions. So I kind of did like a formula here. Boom. First approach, for example, rationale. Second approach, for example, rationale. Check. If you like this, then you can do it this way. If you like this, you can do it this way. It's up to you. When you get the book, there's a lot of examples in here. Practice different ways. Don't wait till test day to practice. Okay? So really important. All right, now let's go to the second one here. In the observation feedback, the principal mentions that the student engagement is low. Okay, so let's go up to the feedback. We didn't read that yet because we're jumping around. Here's the observational. Students are compliant and have an understanding of what is expected. However, engagement is low. Students are not asking questions. So any principal who understands curriculum and instruction is going to get you on this. And students are compliant, that's great, but compliance and engagement are 2 different things. They're compliant. He's got, maybe he's got good classroom management. Maybe they are afraid to say something. Maybe they don't want to, whatever. But this is not engagement, okay? I see some questions coming in. I am going to answer them in just a second, okay? And then there are no objectives driving instruction, okay? All right, we already focused on that, the last one. So let's see here. Identify 2 changes this teacher can make to address this feedback. All right, let's go to my thing. All right, during direct instruction, use essential questions. This is one you could use a lot, okay? This is one you can use a lot. Essential questioning. This will bump the rigor, questioning techniques, wait time, waiting for their answer, thinking critically, good words, good words, good words. We want to be using this stuff in our constructed response, right? We talked about all the good words in the multiple choice. Now take them and put them in your constructed response, okay? And then you might cooperative learning to increase critical thinking. All right, so we've got 2 things, questioning and cooperative learning. That does increase engagement if it's done properly, and taps into students' higher order thinking. Listen, you can say whatever you want as long as you back it up. Whatever you're saying, you just back it up with that rationale. All right, just got to defend it. All right, let's show you what we did here. Okay. Mr. Sumner's class focuses mainly on finishing textbook tasks and busy work. Mr. Sumner can incorporate questioning techniques during direct instruction to increase student engagement and help students interact with material. Notice I'm just doing a little bit different here. I'm trying different approaches. I say the thing that he's not doing great on, and then I add the strategy that would help it, okay? You could also put up at the top, the first strategy he can do is incorporate questioning techniques so students are not just finishing textbook tasks. You can do that. I'm just kind of showing you different ways to write this. That's why they're done in 3 different ways, because everybody likes it. I'm trying to differentiate my instruction for you guys, right? But I still have, for example, non-negotiable. 4 examples, non-negotiable. During direct instruction, Mr. Sumner can ask essential questions to get students thinking more critically, oh, I love it, about the material rather than just finishing bookwork. Here's my rationale. This will increase engagement and understanding of the material. Boom. Okay. We want that engagement because that was what was referenced in the objective, okay? Here we go. Another tactic Mr. Sumner can use to increase student engagement is cooperative learning. He can present students with rigorous material and encourage them to work together to use their higher order thinking skills. Good word again. This will also increase student engagement. Here's my rationale, right? Oops, that's a B. I don't want a B. I want an R. Here comes the rationale right here. This will increase student engagement and critical thinking and essential part of rigorous curriculum. Okay? All that works. All right, now, if you're in the actual webinar, remember that I'm going to send you this constructed response, sort of an incentive to join the webinar live, okay? So you're gonna get an email when this is all over. All right, let me go to some of the questions here. Rochelle, not me in social studies, and it was lots of notes for a certain subject. Yeah, lots of notes. Although I had a social studies teacher once who taught me how to, write really good notes, and it really helped me a lot. Okay. What are your thoughts on scripted lessons? Scripted lessons. It looks like I'm having like buffers. Do you guys, is the video buffering a little bit? Let me know in the chat. Hopefully. Scripted lessons. Scripted lessons are okay for certain people. And sometimes they're good. Yeah, it's buffering. I'm not in love with this new software. I might not be doing this next time, guys, just so you know. Anyway, not mine, no buffering. Yes, buffering. Yes, it was just a little. Okay, good to know. All right. Scripted lessons are okay. I think they're okay, but it just depends. Sometimes they make you do them and sometimes they allow you not to do them. It just depends. I'm not a fan. I like to do my own thing, but it just depends on what your thing is. Okay, let's see here. Do you recommend jumping to the constructed response? I don't think they allow you to do it. I don't think they allow you to do the constructed response ahead of time. I think you have to go through the actual test first. All right. PLT 625. Does this test have constructed response? No constructed response for the 5625. Okay. All right. I'm so glad you guys got a lot out of this lesson. Okay, let me just say, my principal requires standards attached to every lesson. Most principals do. Most principals do. Referring back to the objective, do you recommend jumping ahead? I already said that. That's a great strategy. Okay, good. All right. Do you recommend having the student create their own why or how questions to help them stay engaged? Sure, Dana. Or Dana, I'm not sure, Dana, probably. Yes, absolutely. Having students create their own questions is a great way that's question generation. So why and how is upper level questioning. So anytime you can incorporate, or another thing you can say is say more about that. When a student answers something correctly and you say more about that, that will help them. What do you do if a student refuses to participate in small group setting? I would investigate what's going on, Katie. The student may not like working in groups. You may need to figure out how to motivate that student. I understand it's not that easy. Somebody's asking me to check the Q&A. I would investigate. I would start asking that student questions, and not in an accusatory way. I would get to the bottom of that. Okay. I would try to figure that out. All right. Questions. As a world language teacher or a teacher in general, how many of these PLT exams should I do? Are they grade specific? Oh, okay. You should do the exam that your state requires. Don't do more than that. You need to go to, let me show you where you can go to find out if your state requires the PLT. Let me just set it up real quick. Praxis scores by state. Okay. All right, let me share here where you can go. If you're still confused as to this is being very glitchy. I am not happy with this software at all, you guys. Okay, here we go. All right, so we have Praxis scores by state. What you can do is go here. I Google Praxis scores by state, and then hit this state requirements here. And then you can type your state. So let me go back. What is... Wow. What is your state? If you could put that in there for me, I will show you. And what you can do is, like, let's just put Alabama in there. Okay, go to that. You can see it'll load, and then you'll see everything here. Early childhood, elementary ed, no PLT for this, I don't think. Middle school, okay. Let me try and think someone who does. I think New Jersey has to do PLT. Go. No PLT here either. It'll list it. It'll list it here. I'm trying to think who is, let's see, Nebraska maybe? They might be Pearson. No, they're not doing it. Let's see. Let me know. What's your state? Let's see. Who's got Maryland? Okay, let me check Maryland. Thank you very much. Let me go to Maryland. Okay. Maryland. Let it load. Okay, yes, and you can see here, if you go to early, we've got early childhood, and then we have principles of learning and teaching here, okay? Now, it looks like they're only accepting it through June 2025. I'm not sure what's going on here. They might be changing some requirements there, but for now, you have to do it. And so you go here to figure it out. I would not take any tests that are not required of you. Okay, because that's a waste of money and a waste of time. Now, even if you're a state that doesn't use Pearson, so let's do Massachusetts, or they don't use ETS, they will have, go here. Notice that nothing really pops. I mean, a couple things pop up. They use ETS for some things, like some of these literacy tests, but for the most part, they use Pearson. So you would just go to the certification website here, and that would bring you to what they're trying to do there. Some of you are not using ETS, okay? But some of you are, all right? And so that is important there, okay? So. Anyway, I don't love this new. I'm so sorry about the glitchiness today, you guys. All right, Mississippi, Indiana. All right, we are switching to EdTPA. Yeah, Dana, EdTPA is a performance-based assessment. You're going to have to kind of show what you're doing there. Okay. All right. Oh yeah. Someone's talking about state reciprocity. If you already took some of these, you might be able to get away with not taking any more because they could have reciprocal with your state, but 9 times out of 10, they're not. You have to retake the test unless you have like 15 years of teaching and then they let you skip it. Can you say what are the changes that were recently made in New Jersey in regards to teacher cert and testing? No, I can't. You got to check with your state. States are constantly changing things, and I am not up to date on every single state. So what I would do is go to your State Department of Education website, and that will help you. Okay. All right. All right, you guys, listen, let me take you through some free stuff that we have also. So you got our free PLT book, but we also have an online course. And you can see here, it is full of, activities and videos and all kinds of stuff to help you. And also, quizzes and things like that. We also have how to do the constructed response and, students as learners. I go through and I have like some big constructed responses here. And then I have videos on how to do them and everything. It comes with the PLT study guide, and we have them for each grade level, 5, 6, 2, 1, 2, 2, 2, 3, all of that. So this is the online course. Then, of course, we have, let me go here to the books. We have our books. So that's what I was holding up, this big book here. We have the book. And when you buy it from our website, it's a digital copy that you download, like the one I was kind of flipping through that you saw earlier. But you can also click Amazon here, and it'll take you to the physical. If you want the physical book, you can get it on Amazon. We have lots of 5-star ratings for this book. And here's one thing, I recommend getting the new. You're going to save $3 on used, but there's going to be writing in it, you guys. I get emails saying, oh, my book had writing in it. It was like, well, you bought it from a third party. And if someone's selling their study guide, 9 times out of 10, they wrote in it. Okay. So I wonder why this is not. So make sure you have a look at this as well. Okay. The other thing that we have is, this is like killing me right now. I have my YouTube channel. So let's share this instead. This is my YouTube channel. I have so many things here, and I have a PLT playlist you can have a look at. I'm also on TikTok. I love TikTok. I share lots here. There is this Bloom's taxonomy one here. This one that has the Bloom's pyramid. This will be good for you if you want to learn more about Bloom's. I do a lot more shorter stuff here. Follow me on TikTok. I'm really enjoying the shorter stuff on TikTok. Of course, Facebook. We are live right now on Facebook. And so you can see that we are there. Lots of good stuff going on there. And yeah, we are everywhere. So if you want our products, all you have to do is go to KathleenJasper.com. and you will see everything that we have here under our programs. You can go to PLT. This is sort of a bigger landing page with everything on it. If you're interested in the study guide, just go to Study Guides PLT, and we have it sectioned off there. Now, if you're taking the 5625, you can buy our 5622, and we'll send you the 5624 in a digital form. You don't need a ton of extra information, or if you buy the online course, just let us know and we'll send you the 5624 book. That way you get the elementary and the high school. It's some subtle changes. Also, if you're thinking about buying multiple books, please do not. If you have one, if you're taking the 5621, just buy the 5621 book. Don't buy the 5622 also. They're the same book because the specs are the same. Okay. All right. Do you post all of your TikToks on Instagram? I try to, Samantha, but I hate Instagram right now. It's being super annoying when it comes to TikToks. Zuckerberg doesn't want us using TikTok on Instagram. He wants us using Instagram. So some of the stuff doesn't get pushed out. So I've sort of stopped doing it, but I will. I'll post more. We do have reels. I have tons of reels on Instagram. We do different things. Okay. 5362. You mean 5623. That's middle school, Natasha. And yes, we have all that. Okay. I'm so glad you guys enjoyed the presentation, even though it was a mess and I couldn't use my fancy microphone. Such a bummer. I hope you all do awesome on your exam. I will be back next week for special education. And then, oh, real quick, I have new reading resources. This is the Foundations of Reading book. If you're taking this test, this is my latest and greatest. We're going to do another webinar for this on February 15th. So in 2 weeks. But next week is special education. I saw a bunch of special education teachers in here. Some of you need a special education certification. So definitely check that out. I know, but I don't have TikTok and I can't download it now. Oh, you can't download it now? They stopped you from downloading it? Scandalous. Okay, I'll post a bunch on, most of them are on Instagram. I've only done a few that are not on Instagram, okay? All right, guys, thanks for helping each other out in the chat. Thanks for helping me get through today with all of this craziness. And I really hope, I'll link up the special ed. I'll put it in the email, Shamika, that you get after this. And if you're watching this in the future, you already have it, okay? Please send me the link for special ed. I will. 5038, Liz, 5038, we have done that. It's on my webinars page. One more quick second. Let me show you where to get on my, this is so glitchy. This is so glitchy. I am so mad at this. Okay, under free webinars here, if you scroll down, I have, where is my 503? It's right here. Secondary ELA 5038. It's a replay. You can watch that, get the study guide, everything. It's just like this one, okay? And I have other stuff too, lesson planning and classroom management. You can get it all here, okay? So I'll link up that, I'll link that up. Oh my God, this is crazy. I'll link that up for you in the email. Okay. 7811. I did that one too, Teresa. That is in the webinars page. Okay. So we'll link up the webinars page. Thank you for a great free resource. We appreciate you. Thank you, Williams. I appreciate it too. Thanks, guys. Good luck on your PLT. I'll be back next week and every Saturday in the near future for more webinars. I appreciate you. Have a great day. Bye.